15 years old when he shot and killed 4 students, injured several others in a shooting that he later admitted was planned to cause a school-wide panic. Back in September, the judge determined that Crumbley was eligible for a life sentence without parole. He's 17 now. And so that is an option, and that is what the prosecution is looking for. This sentencing hearing comes as his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, continue to maintain their innocence. They've been charged with involuntary manslaughter. They're looking at separate trials in January on those charges. So a survivor of the shooting spoke out today, gave a victim impact statement. Let's go into court.
I was a senior at Oxford High School on November 30th, 2021. That day began like any other for me. I drove to Oxford Middle School in the morning, where me and my friend Tamir and I were partners for Bully Busters, which was a bullying prevention program. Tate and I spoke to 6th graders about bullying in the school environment and how to prevent it. Afterwards, I drove back to the high school where I took a math test. I ate lunch at the same table that I sat at every single day. I made TikToks with my friends in the hallways. Before my 5th hour class, me and my dear friend Riley Franz and I were standing in the hallway socializing with our peers. And all of a sudden, I thought a balloon popped. I turned and I fell right to the ground. I remember hearing screams. I saw running, but I couldn't run. I was already down. I remember hearing Mr. Wolf make an announcement. I had never heard the halls become silent so fast in my life. Silence was deafening. I was laying on my side like this, and I realized what had just happened. I was just shot, and I thought I was gonna die. As I laid on the floor, I attempted to get up, but my legs weren't moving. I repeatedly hit my legs with my hands like this in an attempt to regain any kind of feeling, but not a single thing. I then somehow tried to do a push-up to somehow drag my body to a safe place where I could get some help. But with the weight of my Carhartt jacket and my backpack full of laptops and textbooks, I was unable to do so. It was so painful. I let myself drop back down onto the floor, where I felt warmth on my face, warmth from blood soaking into the carpet. I remember hearing a squish sound against my right ear, and it was the sound of carpet mixed with blood going into my ear. I started yelling for help, but when I say yelling, I mean a shout that was loud enough for someone around me to hear, yet quiet enough for the shooter not to hear me. No one ever came, but I did hear something. I reached my hand over my head, and I realized it was Hannah. I could hear her groaning beside me. Realizing that I wasn't alone, I kept trying to reassure her. Someone will come help us. Don't worry. Just keep breathing and just please stay with me. I said that to her 1,000 times. At one point, a SWAT team member came running past us. He was the first person I had seen. I pleaded to him, please help us. He did a double take and said, someone will come back for you. Hannah and I were left in utter loneliness, and I thought I was dying. I kept repeating my mom's phone number to make sure my brain was functioning. I was creating math problems in my head and solving them to make sure I wasn't dying. I continued to yell for help. 15 minutes of laying there absolutely helpless. 15 minutes of lying in a pool of my own blood. 15 minutes of hearing Hannah St. Juliana's last sounds while stroking her hair and trying to encourage her. When help finally came, they attended to Hannah, attempting to wrap a tourniquet around her. Someone eventually came for me too. I didn't know who it was, but I knew it was a man. And I later learned that that man was Mr. Ken Weaver. Mr. Weaver stayed with me, supporting my head and locating my wounds. He kept pressure on my entrance wound to stop the bleeding. Mr. Weaver fought to keep me awake and alive until the paramedics could attend to me. During the ambulance ride, I kept asking my paramedic, will I still be able to ride my horses? Will I ever be able to play basketball again? I kept asking these questions to the paramedic in the ambulance. These are my favorite activities while growing up. I was transported to St. Joseph's Hospital in Pontiac, where I stayed into January. During my hospital stay, I spent 1 week in the intensive care unit and over a month in the rehabilitation unit. The bullet entered me through my right clavicle and exited out the left side of my back. The bullet shattered my right clavicle, broke 2 of my ribs, and grazed my spine, causing a spinal cord injury. That night, I had an emergency surgery to remove a hematoma from my spinal cord, also to take out the shards of bone from around my spine, along with pieces of clothing that had entered along with the bullet. 1 week later, I had a clavicle repair surgery where they stabilized my right clavicle with a titanium plate. During my almost 5-week stay in the rehab unit, I had to train myself to sit up unassisted. I had to relearn how to perform basic life tasks like eating, brushing my teeth, showering, and getting dressed. I had to learn to walk again, as well as climb stairs. Prior to this event, I was being recruited to ride horses competitively on a college equestrian team. Unfortunately, I could not follow through with this opportunity. I've been riding horses my entire life. I've had several horses throughout my lifetime. They have provided me with years of happiness. Being able to swing a leg over my horse is my therapy. It's pure joy. I have not been able to do this in 2 years.
Wow, that is one amazing person there. I'm assuming that was maybe her father standing over her shoulder, but if not, her parents should be so proud of this young woman, Kylie Osage, I think it is, just in such dramatic detail talking about what happened to her on that day in 2021 when Ethan Crumbley started firing. And she's hit once, survived somehow, and sees this whole thing unfold, and then what happened to her life afterwards. Natalie Whittingham-Burrell is here, Katherine Lizardo. Boy, ladies, Katherine, thoughts?
Very vivid description by her. And I agree with you that her parents should be proud of her, and she should be proud of herself for what she did for Hannah during Hannah's last moments, to have that presence of mind that you're already bleeding and in pain, and to help someone else as well who was in a similar situation. So I hope that gives her that sense of knowledge that she did well for Hannah and stayed with her in her last moment. But such tragic, and there's no words to describe what she had to go through.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what the sentencing, Natalie, is all about. You know, it's what was the impact of this person's actions, the convicted defendant's actions on these people. And so, you know, this is one of those cases where we've got a mandatory sentence. There are some variables the judge can look at here. The defense is saying we want 25 to 40 years. We want this kid to have the opportunity of parole. Prosecution obviously wants life without that possibility. So this is critical, Natalie, in helping that judge make the decision.
Right. Obviously, I wouldn't want to be in this judge's shoes. It's a very difficult decision to make. However, it's one of the beautiful things about our system is that everyone gets the chance to have their voice heard at the sentencing. The victims get to be heard, the defendant gets to be heard, and they get to kind of have a community healing where you hear both sides of everything, and the judge gets to make the decision of the appropriate sentence. His youth is obviously a factor, but so many people were killed. It's going to be hard to imagine him having the possibility of parole.
Yeah, it's going to come down after a number of these additional victim impact statements. We will keep an eye on this as it unfolds today. We're going to take a break right now.